Welcome to another episode of Whiteboard Wednesday, where I'm going to break down and explain a wholesaling or house flipping concept, definition, technique, tip, or strategy to really help you become a better investor. On today's video, I'm going to cover the number one tip in working with cash buyers. Coming up.
For a limited time, you can get a free copy of Jerry Norton's Quick Start Kit with everything you need to flip your first house in 30 days or less. Download it now at myquickstartkit.com.
If you're new here, I'm Jerry Norton with flippingmastery.com, and this channel is all about ways to help you make money wholesaling and flipping real estate so you can live your dream life. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to get notified when new videos are released. And be sure to stay to the end of this video because I'll share additional videos to help you understand and go even deeper on this topic, as well as resources to help you take action and implement what you learned today. Okay, so let's talk about the number one tip when working with cash buyers. As a wholesaler, you understand that there are two sides of the business. There's acquisitions, which is everything it takes to get the contract from a seller. And then there's dispositions. And dispositions is finding your buyer and wholesaling your deal to buyers. Okay, so there's two sides of that business. Now, in the beginning, as a wholesaler, you're going to put the majority of your focus on acquisitions because you have to get good at getting contracts. Dispositions doesn't even exist unless you have contracts, because you can't take contracts to cash buyers if they don't exist, right? So what we're going to talk about, though, is let's assume that you've done a good job, you've gone out there, you've sourced, you've found a good deal, and you've got that contract with the seller. Now it's time to bring that deal to a cash buyer in your market, a local active cash buyer who's going to want that deal, and they're going to pay you an assignment fee or a wholesale fee for it, the disposition side. Now, working with these cash buyers can be a little tricky. I know when I first got started in the beginning, it was intimidating. You know, what do I say to them? How do I bring them my deal? How do I make sure that I give them the information that they need? How do I protect myself so that I get paid in the transaction, right? How do I make sure they don't go around me? You have all of these things when working with a cash buyer. Well, first of all, you need to know that as a wholesaler, having that contract is extremely valuable if it's a good deal. These cash buyers in the marketplace, they want deals. They're looking for deals. And by nature of you having that deal and bringing that to them, they're going to be very excited and very motivated if that deal fits their criteria and it's in their market or their neighborhood. And that's something that they're looking for. Now, when it comes to these cash buyers, here's the number one thing that you need to know. There's the biggest tip I can give you about working with a cash buyer. You have to get a non-refundable earnest money deposit. Now, what does that mean? Why is that so important? Now, the earnest money is the good faith that they're going to buy your deal, right? So you're going to sign a contract with them, an assignment contract usually with the cash buyer that commits them to the deal. There's a closing date down the road in 2, 3, 4 weeks, according to the contract you have with the seller. That date is coming. The seller's expecting that closing is going to happen and they're going to get paid out. And you need to commit your cash buyer to that deal and to the terms of the original contract. That's what wholesaling is all about. Well, how do you commit your cash buyer? How do you make sure he shows up at closing? Let me tell you a quick story. I once had a deal where I had my cash buyer. He agreed to the deal. We signed an assignment. Day of closing comes. I attend the closing. At that point in time, I would go to my closings. I don't anymore because you don't need to. But I went to the closing. Here's the seller. Here's me. Seller's thinking I'm the buyer, but I'm not because I assigned my contract to a real buyer or an end cash buyer, and he no-shows. He flakes out and he no-shows. And here, title company's sitting there, seller's sitting there, I'm sitting there looking like an idiot, and my cash buyer no-shows. And I step out in the hall and I call him and he's not answering my phone, and I got to go back in there and I got to explain to the seller and the title company that we're not closing today, and everyone's all confused. And it was a terrible situation to be in. I'll never forget that experience. And by the way, it never happened since, because here's the mistake I made. I did not get a big enough deposit from my cash buyer. I think it was only a couple $100, or it might have been $500. It wasn't enough to really commit my cash buyer to the deal. And later I found out that something else came along, a better deal or whatever, and he did that deal and he just blew me off. Why did that happen? And how do I prevent that from happening? Here's how. You've got to get a big enough earnest money deposit. Now, if you go right now in your market and you look up the biggest wholesaler in your market or wholesalers, I'm talking wholesalers that are moving 5, 10, 15, 20 deals a month. I guarantee you they will not even consider a contract with you unless you put down a non-refundable, meaning if you don't show up at closing, they keep your earnest money. That's what non-refundable means. No contingencies. Non-refundable, and it's going to be big. Most wholesalers that are really good at what they do, they typically require maybe $2,500 at the lowest, but typically $5,000. I even know wholesalers that require $10,000 non-refundable deposit. And you might be thinking as a cash buyer, that's crazy. That's a huge deposit. Why would I pay that? I'll tell you why. Put yourself in their shoes. They're a wholesaler. They have a contract. They have a commitment with a seller. And if they go under contract with a cash buyer who flakes out, they're on the hook. You can assign your contract, but you cannot assign liability, meaning you will be held to the original terms of the contract with the seller. So if you don't close, then they're going to hold you responsible for that. You're going to lose your earnest money with them. You're going to lose your goodwill with them. You know, nothing really happens. No one's going to force you to buy the property. But as a wholesaler, you don't want to get to closing and have your cash buyer flake out on you. So most wholesalers require a big non-refundable earnest money. When I'm wholesaling, I do the same thing. Depending on the size of my deal, I require a big enough, sizable earnest money to where I feel certain that that cash buyer is not going to flake out because they got too much on the line. You know, a cash buyer is not going to walk away typically from $5,000. They're just not. That's enough to really put them in this place of commitment, right? Even if they can afford to lose the money, that by nature of it being non-refundable and then putting that money down, it really allows them to step into, okay, this is for real, this is serious, I really do want this deal, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna be ready by closing because I'm putting this money out there that I'm not gonna get back if I flake. And I'll tell you right now, I've got 2 deals that I'm working on right now. These are high-end because you guys know I love luxury real estate. And both these deals, as the buyer, I have $100,000 in non-refundable earnest money. And these are multi-million-dollar deals, so it kind of makes sense. But you better believe I'm committed to these deals. I put $100,000 down as earnest money on these deals. I'm showing up at closing no matter what. Okay? I'm getting the capital. I'm making sure I'm ready. There is no way I'm walking from $100,000 in earnest money. Well, why? Because they want me committed to the deal. You better do the same. I guarantee you, if you're not getting big earnest money deposits from your cash buyers, you are going to have an experience, if you haven't yet, like I did, where they no-show and flake out, and you're left standing there at the closing with no money, no buyer, looking like an idiot. Don't let that happen to you like it did to me. Make sure you get those big earnest money deposits. Now, I've got a couple resources for you. One of them is when working with cash buyers, unfortunately in this business, not all cash buyers are honest. Not all sellers are honest. And the reason why you hold your value is because of the contract that you have. Without that contract, it's easy for the cash buyer and the seller to possibly cut you out of the deal. Now, that contract could still be gone around. Like the cash buyer could work out a side deal with the seller, or the seller could find maybe a new cash buyer that's offering them more than you. All of these things could happen and do happen in this business. The way to prevent that is with what's called a memorandum, an affidavit of memorandum. The title company records it, it protects your interest in your contract, and it prevents the seller from selling the property to somebody else. Now, I did a video all about it. I'll put the link in the description. And also, I'll give you my free affidavit form that I use that you can also use for your deals. I just make it a standard process. Every time I get a wholesale deal, I have title recorded. It just gives me peace of mind that no one's gonna backdoor me and I'm gonna be safe. Okay, another great resource I have for you is I did a video where I broke down the 10 most important questions that you can ask a cash buyer when interviewing that cash buyer to see if they'd be a good fit for your wholesale deal. Again, you wanna make sure that you get a legit cash buyer, so that video really breaks it down and really helps you know what to say and what to ask and how to do that. So I'll give you that. That video's link is also in the description. And one more thing is I put together all of my scripts for how I talk to cash buyers, not just talk to them on the phone or in different situations, but also texting them, leaving them voicemails, even emails. All of these scripts I put together, and I have a link where you can download that free list of all my scripts. All right, so I want you to make sure that you implement this #1 tip in your wholesaling business today. If you gain value from this video, hit that like button right now and leave a comment. Let me know if you plan on doing this. Tell me your minimum required non-refundable earnest money. Is it $2,500? Is it $5,000? What is it for you? I think it better be at least $2,500, but I prefer even $5,000 or more. Leave a comment, let me know what you plan on doing. And hey, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It is the #1 channel on YouTube for all things wholesaling and flipping, and I'll see you on the next video.